Hello, champions, and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another great week of school. We have 18 days left to show how amazing we are on the leap. You're going to do an awesome job during these 18 days. In science class, you'll be using Quizlet, PlayPosit, and IXL to help prepare for the math test. Today, we're going to talk about how to write decimals in different forms. I know you can do it, and so does Mr. Smiles. Let's dive right into our video. Let's start with a couple warm-up questions. First, convert 3 and 1/4 into an improper fraction. Remember, when I'm converting a mixed number into an improper fraction, first, I have 3 groups that have 4 pieces each. So I'm going to multiply. 3 times 4. What's 3 times 4? It's 12. I also have one additional piece. What's 12 plus 1? 12 plus 1 is 13. My denominator stays the same, so 3 and 1/4 is the same as 13 over 4. Now you try it. What is 2 and 2/5 converted into an improper fraction? Let's see how you did. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. My denominator stays the same, so 2 and 2/5 is the same as 12/5. Now let's convert into mixed numbers. To convert 17 over 3 into a mixed number, I need to see how many groups of 3 pieces are inside of 17 pieces. So I'm going to divide 17 divided by 3. How many times does 3 go into 17? 3 goes into 17 5 times. What's 5 times 3? 5 times 3 is 15. When I subtract, there's 2 left over. So 17 thirds is the same as 5 and 2 thirds. Now you try one. What's 15 over 4 written as a mixed number? When I divide 15 divided by 4, I get 3 wholes with 3 left over, or 3 and 3/4. Now let's do some multi-digit multiplication. Remember, when I'm multiplying by a 2-digit number like 15, I can break it apart. 15 is the same as 5 and 10. So I can start with multiplying everything by 5. What's 5 times 7? 5 times 7 is 35. What's 5 times 2? 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 more is 13. What's 5 times 1? It's 5, plus 1 more is 6. What's 5 times 5? It's 25. Now I'm finished with the 5. What should I do next? I need to drop a 0 because 1 is in the tens place. Now I can continue to multiply. What's 1 times 7? It's 7. What's 1 times 2? It's 2. What's 1 times 1? It's 1. What's 1 times 5? It's 5. Now I can add my partial products to get my final answer. 5 plus 0 is 5. 3 plus 7 is 10. 1 plus 6 is 7. Plus 2 more is 9. 5 plus 1 is 6. And 2 plus 5 is 7. The correct answer is 76,905. Now you try one. What's 3,172 times 23? Write your answer without a comma. The correct answer is 72,956. Check your work with mine. Now let's do our last warm-up skill. Simplify these fractions. What's a number that goes into 3 and 9? 3 goes into both. When I divide 3 and 9 by 3, what's the new fraction that I get? It's 1/3. What's a number that goes into 15 and 20? 5 goes into both. When I divide both 15 and 20 by 5, what's my new fraction? It's 3/4. Now you try a couple. What's 2/10 written in simplest form? Well, 2 goes into both, and when I divide both by 2, I get 1/5. What's 12/16 written in simplest form? Well, 4 is the largest number that goes into both, and when I divide, I get 3/4. If I started by dividing both by 2 and got 6/8, I could simplify by 2 again to get 3/4. Now we're ready to dive into our video. Today we're going to be writing decimals in different forms. Let's start with an example. Write 312 and 532 thousandths in standard and expanded form. Well, remember, when I write numbers in standard form, I can start by drawing my place value chart. Ones, tens, hundreds, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Now let's look at what number I have written. 312 and 532 thousandths. Remember, and tells me where to place my decimal point. So before my decimal, I have 312. 3, 1, 2. And after my decimal, I have 532 thousandths. So I need to write 532 and make sure it ends in the thousandths place. So to write this number in standard form, I would get 312 and 532 thousandths. Now I can write it in expanded form. Remember, when I write a number in expanded form, I multiply each digit times its place value. So 3 is in the hundreds place, I would write 3 times 100. 1 is in the tens place, I would write 1 times 10. 2 is in the ones place, I would write 2 times 1. 5 is in the tenths place, so I would multiply 5 times 1/10. 3 is in the hundredths place, so I would multiply 3 times 1/100. And 2 is in the thousandths place, so I would multiply 2 times 1/1000. Now you try one. Remember, you can draw a place value to help a place value chart to help if you would like. How do I write 2 times 10 plus 6 times 1 plus 5 times 1/100 in standard form and word form? Well, 2 is in the tens place, 6 is in the ones place, and 5 is in the hundredths place. So I need to move it over to the hundredths place. How do I write that in words? Well, I have 26 in front of the decimal. I write and to represent my decimal, and I have 5 in the hundredths place. The correct answer is 26 and 5/100ths. Now, let's look at this next question. Which of the following are equivalent to 32 and 5/100ths? Choose 2. First, let's write 32 and 5/100ths in standard form. How do I write 32 and 5/100ths in standard form? Well, I would have 32 in front of the decimal, 5 after the decimal, and I'd have to add a 0 to place it in the hundredths place. So I can see that C is one of the correct answers. Which answer choice shows the correct expanded form of 32 and 5/100ths? It's G. G shows a 3 in the tens place, a 2 in the ones place, and a 5 in the hundredths place. Now let's try several. Write each number in standard form. 3 and 4/10. That's just 3.4. 3 and 4/10. 4 times 1 plus 3 times 1/10 plus 2 times 1/100. Well, 4 is in the ones place, 3 is in the tenths place. 2 is in the hundredths place. 5 and 321 thousandths. Well, I have 5 before the decimal and 321 thousandths after the decimal. 62 and 4 hundredths. Well, I have 62 in front of the decimal. I have 4 after the decimal, and I need to add a 0 to make sure it's in the hundredths place. 3 times 10, so 3 is in the tens place. 2 times 1, 2 is in the ones place. 3 times 1/10, 3 is in the tenths place. And 2 times 1 over 1,000, 2 is in the thousands place. I need to add a 0 in the hundredths place. So my number is 32 and 302 thousandths. Now try 4 more. What's 26 and 34 hundredths in standard form? Well, 26 before the decimal, 34 after, ending in the hundredths place, so 26.34. What's 9 times 10 plus 5 times 1/10 plus 3 times 1 over 100 plus 7 times 1 over 1,000? Well, 9 in the tens place, 5 in the tenths, 3 in the hundredths, and 7 in the thousands. So 90 and 537 thousandths. What's 309 and 2 hundredths? Well, 309 before the decimal and 2 hundredths after. And finally, what's 1 times 100 plus 7 times 10 plus 8 times 1 over 100 plus 4 times 1 over 1,000? Well, 1 in the hundredths place, 7 in the tens place, nothing in the ones place, nothing in the tenths place, an 8 in the hundredths place, and a 4 in the thousandths place. Finally, take a moment to answer this question. Which are 2 other ways to write 509 and 67 hundredths? The correct answers are D and E. You've done a great job with this video. Now get on IXL Practice Skill G3. Check your playlist if you forget which skill to use. At the end of this period, you will take an exit ticket to show what you've learned.